Hello. Good morning, my beautiful friends. Hello and welcome. Starting a little early today because I got stuff going on, so I just wanted to, pop on here. Thought about not actually going live today, but decided I would. Uh, for if for no other reason, for one very special reason, I am here today, and that is because it is Mr. Rogers' birthday. That's right, Mr. Rogers' birthday, and now most of you probably you've seen the videos. You could go and you can watch his stuff on YouTube. You can, it's out there. They made a movie about him. There's stuff out there, so most people know who he is, right? He's still part of he's still part of pop culture. But I want to share with you what Mr. Rogers was to me growing up. I was born in 1969. Mr. Rogers came on the air nationwide in 68. So he's already kind of established. And back then, you got to understand, back then, TV stations, you had four options: ABC, NBC, CBS, and PBS, public broadcasting. And for a kid, it was pretty much just PBS, especially before you had um, before you went to school. Before preschool, it was pretty much Sesame Street, Mister Rogers, and then there was this other electric company, which I loved. Electric Company, uh, but I don't know, they didn't last that long, but it was unfortunate because Electric Company was pretty cool. They kind of merged. Electric Company was sort of the hipper version of Sesame Street. It was it was pretty cool. So anyway, so we had Mr. Rogers, and I remember many times being excited when Mr. Rogers would come on every day and singing the song. And I, I thought some of the puppets were a little scared, were a little creepy. Lady Elaine, I'm talking about the creepy one. I was like, why is this on a children's program? Oh, that was weird. But anyway, I grew up with Mr. Rogers, and I think a lot of people in my age group, a lot of Gen X, we grew up with Mr. Rogers, and he was sort of a perfect antidote for what was going on because during that time it was, we were coming out of the 60s, which were very tumultuous. We had assassinations galore. We had the civil rights unrest stuff going on. We had uh, disco. I mean, it was a horror. It was a horrifying time. And then of course and we had the war uh, that nobody really wanted to be a part of, Vietnam. I remember as a kid watching the news at night, and they would have, like, every day they would have this uh, part of the news where they just because it was so there were so many, they would just list all the people that died in Vietnam that day. It was insane. It was a weird time to be around. So you watch the news, and it was all this unread, just like it is now. It's always just, news is all the negative stuff, right? It's just very negative. So for a kid to sit and watch all that stuff, you'd see war and protests and all this stuff going on all the time. So you being able to watch Mr. Rogers was a relief. It was our opportunity to, uh, maybe have some civility in this world, and that's what Mr. Rogers was. He was a bastion of good feelings and happiness. And I remember as a kid, and I grew up in Utah. There were not a lot of people who were not white that I hung around with. But my my experience with people who were not white was usually Saturday morning cartoons and the Harlem Globetrotters. I thought every black dude was the coolest person or the coolest people ever because of the Harlem Globetrotters. They were the coolest thing. But there was this. I remember this specifically. In fact, it was in the movie that they did about Mr. Rogers, about how he would. He had this thing where the cop, who was a African American, as we like to say. Um, he was a they did this thing where they because back then and it was stupid. It was stupid, but there was this thing where they wouldn't allow black kids to be in swimming pools with the white kids. It was the stupidest thing ever. I don't know what anybody was thinking. Why that was. It was the dumbest thing. It was dumb. It was just stupid. But it was like a big controversy in some places back then. I remember the whole thing. And so Mr. Rogers sort of kind of curtailed that whole thing, or voiced his opinion by having a little one of those little mini swimming pools, and having the cop come and wash their feet in the. It was silly. It was no grown men are gonna sit around and wash their feet together, right? But the point was this isn't this is a silly thing to fight over, and it was, and for most of my growing up, a lot of the lessons I learned about how to be a good person really came from Mr. Rogers. Watching him every day, he was telling you how to be kind, how to be a good friend, how to be respectful of others, how to think of others instead of just thinking of yourself all the time. It was uh, it was good. It was great stuff. So when I started going to school, started hanging out with other kids, I already knew what a good person was. I already knew what it meant to be a neighbor. I already knew how you treated other people and how you should show respect, and that you should be kind to other people, and you don't know what other people are going through. Some people are having a bad day, so they might say something mean to you, but it's not because they're really mad at you. It's because they're mad about something about themselves. They might take it out on you. And these were lessons. These are actually pretty deep lessons that you would learn from Mr. Rogers. So in all of his simplicity, you look at it as like just some silly kid show, but it was more. It was more than just. I mean, even more than Sesame Street. Sesame Street taught a lot of the same things, but it was it was more about numbers and different things. But the actual lessons about life, those things came from it was Mr. Rogers. And I think my whole generation really learned how to be a good human being from Mr. Rogers. And so cool. Today's his birthday, and I thought I wanted to mention. I wanted to talk about it. So I even did old. Was he the postman? I thought he was the cop. No, Mr. McFeely was the postman. He was the old guy with the mustache. I think it was. But no, the cop. What is his name? I should have looked it up. Anyway, it was pretty cool. But anyway, good morning. Most of you last night went on live with Tressa. That was a lot of fun. Thank you, those of you who joined us. We're going to try to do that more often, but she's got other stuff going on. So, what was this? Ren and Stimpy. So, that was the one thing. Is it seemed like what happened was there was a cultural change that happened, I think, mostly through the 80s, 90s, where, well, my generation, we grew up on cartoons. We loved cartoons, and so then we started extending cartoons into everything. It was not just for kids anymore. A lot of that was probably Japanese anime, and I was into the Japanese anime before it was cool. We used to just call it Japanese cartoons. I know that's how old school I am. That's what we used to call them. But we would there was this one was called G Force. It was some places it was called G Force, and it was called something else everywhere else. But my favorite one was Speed Racer. I love Speed Racer. He was a cool thing. Um, Officer Clemens, yes, thank you, Christy. It was Officer Clemens. You're right, and it was a pretty cool, it was a pretty cool deal. I loved it. But no, I grew up, and that was the other thing is you didn't see cartoons except for you had Saturday mornings was when you got to see cartoons. Saturday mornings, that was it. They were usually done by about 11 or 12, and then it started showing golf or tennis or some weird sport. Um, but you had that. You have 4 channels, and then Saturday mornings. That was when you had the cartoons, and most of them were just cookie cutter versions of other cartoons. It's like you had, Scooby Doo, and then you would have like 14 other versions that everybody else is trying to. And they were made by the same company, Hanna Barbera. Hanna Barbera would make like one cartoon that would work, and then they would clone it and have uh, 15 other versions of the same, of the same thing. It was kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you. But I loved it. I loved it. Now I do. Okay, I did make a video today that I would like to, for as a benefit to all of those of you who are watching right now. I don't know if you've seen these. Okay, I made a parody of the video, the opening videos, where somebody's like, "Hey, I'm going to show you something," and then they take like 10 minutes talking about opening something, and then they never open it. You're familiar with these videos? They drive me nuts, and I despise every person who's ever made one of these things because they just open it for crying out. So I decided I would make a parody of that video, and so I did, and never actually opened the jar. So here's the jar that I used as the prop for that video, and I would like to take this opportunity now. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to open this and show you what's in here, just so you know, because I know there's a lot of controversy about this, and I just want to open. I want to take this opportunity right now, and I'm going to show you what's in here. So here it is. It's mushroom gummies, not the whack out. Go meet your spirit guide gummies either. No, they're just they have healthy benefits. They're not go crazy and enter alternative dimensions gummies. They're just mushroom gummies. They're just sick at the. That's all they are. Nothing more, nothing less. They're just nice gummies. But that's it. So the video is making fun of those people that, and they act like they're not trying to lead you on. And that was my whole point of my video. I hope you appreciate that for what it was. Now I should have got some beverage. Those are going to make me cough. So I need to see a spirit guide. I thought it would be Q-tips. That's funny. I did open it. So that's what it is. That's what it was. No, I watched one of these things, and it's like 3 people talking about opening something, and it went on forever. And I'm just like, so we always just fast forward to see what is opening. And then they open it. It's like, oh look, it was a feather. Whatever. So just having a little fun. Just having a little fun. That's all I'm talking about. That's all I'm saying. No, I loved. I got into coveralls because of Mr. Green Jeans. And there was also Captain Kangaroo, who was a lot to be said. Captain Kangaroo was a lot of fun too. I like Captain Kangaroo. I got into Captain Kangaroo. I liked him. Um, and it was a fun time because that was the other thing is that every kid at school watched the same things. We were all into the same things because that was all there was. So we all watched the same TV shows. We all watched the same stuff. So we'd come go back to school. We all kind of had a even kill. Not like it is today. Now there's so much going on. So everywhere, I like what's going on. Don't get me wrong. I dig what's going on, but it was just a different time back before we had the cell phones and you had the immediate. You could watch anything you wanted. That was the other thing is if you missed it, you watched something and you missed it, it was over. You didn't get to see it. It was you planned your schedule out according to when something was going to show. Beyond, you know what I mean? It was fun. Witchy poo. Oh yes, HR Puffin stuff. That was a fun one. I enjoyed that. That was uh you have to go watch it. It was basically what was happening was people were writing for children's shows um, who were um, who in the 60s were experimenting with psychedelics. And so when they were writing for children's shows, they were bringing their psychedelic experience with them into the children's programs. And so you had, I mean, for crying out loud, the show was called HR Puffin Stuff. I don't know how more clear you can be about what was going, what the inspiration was on this one, but it was the craziest, most ridiculous show ever. And I wish they would have kept making the things because it was just bizarre. He had a flute that talked, and he went onto this island. And he was being chased by a witchy poo. It was crazy. It was insane. I remember watching all these ridiculous shows, and it was fun. Um, and I did. Yeah. Okay. So we've got everybody's mentioned Underdog. I loved Underdog. Didn't have enough Underdog. They just did not show enough Underdog or Mighty Mouse. I loved Mighty Mouse. Then there was Super Chicken. I love Super Chicken. Um, then we had. Here's my thing: is they treated superheroes as cartoon figures. So like all the superhero stuff was very cartoonish. You know what I mean? It was really geared towards children, right? Um, um, so you had the Justice League, and you had all those, but there was no real good um, presentations, if you will, of superheroes until much later. I mean, really, there just wasn't much going on in Hollywood with superheroes. They just didn't do much with it, and then when they did, it was ridiculous. They were just not very well done until they finally made Superman in the 70s. That was the first real good superhero movie, was that first Superman. And then we were excited because it's like, okay, now we're going to start making some really cool superhero movies. And they didn't. In fact, when they made Superman 2, they did it completely wrong. The Superman sequels to the first Superman were horrible. It was embarrassing what was going on there. Horrible. So it was really cool to see when they started making real good superhero movies. I was like, see, you should have been making these all the whole time. Really should have. Um, oh yeah, Romper Room. Somebody brought up Romper Room. We used to watch that all the time because you were waiting to see if your name got mentioned. She would pull out her, I think goes, I see Tammy and I see John and I see Christy and I see Steve and I see Sherry. And if they ever mentioned your name, it was the best day ever. It was like, yeah, I'm famous. People love me. That's what I'm talking about. So maybe that's why we like doing these lives. I mean, you can start mentioning everybody. So we got Carissa, we got hey Justin. Have a good day, Justin. Christy, Shelly, and I see Cliff, and I see Meats Fish, and I see Vaughn, and I see Sea Bunkers, and was it Flynn Manderer, Brian? Okay, some of you got some names that I can't mention in mixed company. So there's that. Um, so anyway, I got fun things going on. I hope you're having a good day. Just well, you know you're loved and you're appreciated, my good friends, and hope that we can be neighbors. And that's it. That's it. Like I said, I got some things going on today. I got some stuff going on, and we'll talk more about some of my other shows that I love. Somebody was bringing up, what was it? Land of the Lost. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Michael, my brother. Hey, Michael. I actually met um, the girl from Land of the Lost. Hung out with her for a couple days. I'll tell you that story sometime. It was a pretty okay. I'll just share it with you now. So Holly, she was Holly from Land of the Lost, and when I was a kid, I had a big crush on her. Every kid did. She was Holly. She had kind of sandy blonde hair, and she had ponytails, you know. And she was somebody that we all loved and adored, right? Well, anyway, fast forward a few years ago, I was helping a guy um, over in New Jersey who was representing a lot of people, and one of them was Larry Storch, the comedian and actor Larry Storch, and Larry would do these um, fan shows, you know, the fan where they, you know, like Comic-Con kind of stuff. And he would show up, he'd set up a booth and people would come by, they'd pay him $20 and get a picture and sign an autograph and chat with him for a while. It was really cool. And so my friend was representing him. And so when he would go and do these shows, we would go and provide help, you know, help him out with his booth and direct people. And we just sat there and hung out with Larry, and it was fun. It was a really cool experience. Well, one of the other people that this guy was representing was Holly from the Land of the Lost. And it was pretty interesting because she's trying to put herself together. She's lived a pretty rough life. She's had a pretty rough life. And there was a substances. Um, she was a partaker of various substances. Let me just say that. So that had kind of made her life a little more tricky, shall we say. And um, so she flew out from California to New Jersey to go, and she was also participating in one of these at the Comic Con thing. So we were setting up booth for Larry and for her, for Holly. And I forget what's her real name. Anyway, she came and stayed over at my friend's condo, and he had a small condo. He had a one bedroom condo, and so she needed a place to stay. And so I went and bought a cot at a really big, nice camping cot, like a real comfortable one. And I bought the cot, and she slept on it while she was in New Jersey, to save money because hotels were expensive. But um, so she was staying there, and I think when we got to the event, they provided her a room at the hotel, so she had that. But the night before, she needed a place to stay before she went and checked into the hotel, so she slept on that cot. So I had that caught. I was like, ooh, I was going to get her to sign. I should have had her sign it for me. But anyway, I spent a couple of days hanging out with her, Larry Storch, and Ken Norton, an old boxer. If you know who Ken Norton was, he was there. And then Lou Ferrigno was also there. It was the craziest thing. So it was Larry Storch, Ken Norton, um, I think her name was Kelly McGillis, the gal from Tron, the hot chick in the original Tron movie. She was there, and Larry Frigno. And they were all kind of in the end of the all kind of hanging out together at the end of this hallway. Um, and so when people would go use the bathroom, Ken Norton had used the bathroom. I sat in his thing so people wouldn't steal the stuff. And then he signed me a picture, and then the gal from Tron, she signed one for me, and Lou Ferrigno signed a Hulk poster for me. It was pretty cool. I got to hang out with Lou Ferrigno. That was it. That was my day. I hung out with Holly, and it was a fun. It was a weird, odd afternoon. But it was like, oh, and we met. That was the day we also met. Um, uh, Paunch from Chips. That was pretty cool. We hung out with him and chatted with him for a while. And he was telling us all about the story about how what he became, because he was, he represented law enforcement. Um, he got invited by a lot of law enforcement uh, groups to come and speak and stuff. And he got into, this is the craziest thing. He got into and became a part of a task force that hunted down people who preyed on children. He would hunt down pedophiles, and it was the craziest stories. Um, and he would actually communicate with people and pretend he was a 14-year-old boy or a 13-year-old girl, and they would find these predators and set them up and find them. And he was part of that task force. So that's what, if you ever want to know what happened to Paunch from Chips, that's what he does with his life. It's pretty crazy. So um Sherry, her Hollywood really beat her up. Holly from she I could I I don't want to go into the stories here, but it was the things that you hear about Hollywood and how horrible it is for children actors. Absolutely, I can. The stories that she shared with me uh, were horrifying, and I felt so bad for her because I remember when I was a kid, I was like, I want to be a star actor, and now as I've gotten older, I'm grateful I never pursued that. I'm grateful that I did not become a childhood actor. I mean, I did stage stuff and things in Utah, but I'm grateful that I never went to Hollywood because the stories that I heard from her I'll be honest with you. If I went through what she went through, I would probably be an alcoholic and addicted to drugs too. So you can't, I mean, that's the thing. You can't, when you see people that have lived through hard times and have had a hard life and they go to drugs and alcohol to escape that, you can't really, you shouldn't judge them for that because you have no idea what they've been through. A lot of people, drugs and alcohol, they use it to treat the symptoms to a bigger problem, and they often ignore what the big problem is. And that's why the way we have set everything up, or where we punish them for trying to deal with their emotional issues instead of just helping them deal with their emotional issues. It's It's crazy. So it was weird seeing, getting to meet her because she really is a very just a kind and gracious human being, but she'd lived a hard life. She really had. But it was fun to watch her interact with everybody because most of the people who were fans were you know dudes my age that were in love with her, and so it was getting to meet her was a big deal for them, and it was pretty crazy. It was but it was fun. You could see that this was a big part of I think helping her heal was being able to actually interact with fans and meet people and have those no understanding that she was a big part of our childhood. She was and it was so cool just to hang out with her. She was a very nice person. She was what you would hope she would be. She was just really, I mean, you could tell that she'd lived a hard life, but at the same point in time, she was still just a gracious and beautiful human being. And you should look her up. She really is um, pretty interesting. Pretty interesting person. So it's weird meeting these people that you meet, like meeting Lou Ferrigno. You gotta understand, Lou Ferrigno was he was it. Lou Ferrigno was Arnold Schwarzenegger before Arnold Schwarzenegger was Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, Lou Ferrigno he was it. He was the Hulk. Are you kidding me? Getting to meet him, and he too, just cool dude. Totally cool dude. Totally just kind, gracious, just wonderful human being. Absolutely loved hanging out with him. So that was pretty cool. So anyway, she has gotten, to my understanding is that she has gotten therapy. She has really worked through the issues, but hearing what some of those issues were and what she went through, terrible, terrible, terrible. What they do to kids, I feel bad now. I don't look at kid stars and go, wow, they got their lives, they got a great start to life. I feel horrible for them because it's like the things I've heard that they have to go through. I mean, when you see like what's his name, Corey Feldman, you hear the stories. It's like I'd be a little weird too. I'll be honest with you. Corey Feldman is a weirdo, and I love his weirdness. I'll be honest with you. I watch some of his music and his videos and his dancing, and he's out there. He's nuts, but you know what? He's doing what he loves to do. So uh, I think it's pretty cool. I just love to see people who are just doing what they want to do and just don't care, and it's the best. What I think of Bob Ross, I don't know Bob Ross's personal story that much. I probably should, but I love Bob Ross. I think that the thing I loved about Bob Ross was he would take life lessons and teach you about life while he was showing you how to paint. It was really brilliant. It really was. Um, it was amazing what he would do, and still able to do. You can go watch the videos. I feel bad for his family though because they have everything he did is owned by I think NPR or PBS. So they're making money off of it, but they have no rights to anything of his. So it's kind of a bitter sweet sort of thing that some of these dudes because you sign deals, and when you sign the deal it where you at the time that you sign the deal can influence how the deal turns out in the long run. Like the dude with Puya with using my deal. I don't know nothing's come of it so far. They reached out to me, asked what I wanted. I expressed my what I wanted. I thought we were in a negotiation, and I haven't heard back from them yet. So it's been 4 days since I responded to their email, and I know what's going on. So now I love Bob Ross. In answer to that question, let's see. The original ASMR, yeah, yeah, that's true. I think so. I think you're onto something there. Well, he would just it was just sort of a calming thing, that's kind of what Mr. Rogers was, and it was escapism because you just sit down and you start painting and you're listening to Bob Ross talk about happy trees and that there are no accidents. Um, when you make a mistake, you can always just find a way to fix it and move on. Brilliant life lessons. I mean, it was great stuff. It was really great stuff. So yeah, I loved. I think the world needs more of that stuff. The world needs more just get yourself out of the world. Everybody is always trying to just shove everything into your face, giving you their opinion about everything, and I'm right, they're wrong, blah blah blah. And I don't want to participate in that stuff. I mean, I have my opinions, but I really love what Mr. Rogers was doing because he was giving kids a time. Hey, Otter Girl, I do see you. Um, just giving kids an opportunity to feel like they matter. Because when I was growing up, this is the other part of it. Kids. I mean, the attitude was the world was not centered around children at all, in any by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, most of the playgrounds that we were on were afterthoughts. They were made very cheaply. They were a lot of children's programming really wasn't necessarily always the best quality, or um, but the world wasn't geared towards children when I was growing up, and that started changing in the 80s and 90s, where we because I think they realized that there's a lot of money in children. In there's a lot of money in marketing towards children. So then they really started. That's really kind of the 70s when they really started combining. Star Wars is the first one to really create this, where you had the marketing campaign combined with the movie, and then Disney figured this out, and then all of a sudden, all of this stuff for kids was coming out. So there was more and more marketing towards children, and because children were and selling to children became a big deal, they became more and more was available for kids, and all of that was happening through and I saw it when I was raising my own kids in the 2000s, early 90s and 2000s. As I was raising my kids, I could see how much more was available for them. Well, one, you had VHS and CDs, and I could sit down and my kids could watch all of the Disney movies whenever they wanted to. I never had that luxury. I never had that when I was a kid. It wasn't until the VHS was a thing until the 80s. Um, but once it became they could make money, then they started focusing on children. So and then sort of children sort of became. I think we kind of overcorrected for my generation. Overcorrected because we were so ignored as children that when we had our children, we wanted them to have a better experience in life. And so we focused more on kids than we did than what we were focused on. And not that we were ignored, it was just you were just taught to grow up a little bit faster. So, and now they don't, instead, and that was the other thing is I've noticed is that children's programming then was about teaching a child how to be respectful, how to basically be an adult, how to be a good person, um, to think good things about yourself, to be positive about who you are, accept who you are, accept others. Those were the messages. But now, because money's involved and marketing's involved, they're not teaching children how to be a better person. They're just telling children the things they want to hear so that they would. I hate to say this, but most of the children's programming now is not designed to help them become better children. It's just designed to get them to become um, consumers. And so they're just always giving they're always playing to that. So they're not really teaching children good lessons about life. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. So anyway, well, that's my message for today. That's what I'm talking about. I got to show you, talk about my video, and I just want you to know you're loved and appreciated. And I want to do more to share a little love with this world and make your life a little bit better. Just know that it's not the end of the world. Um, Regardless of what crazy things go on, most of it's just political theater. Don't get drugged down by it, regardless of what side of the issues you might be on. Um, Most of the stuff out of our control. That's the important lesson that everyone needs to learn is that there are things that you can control and things you can't. And most of it you can't control. What you can't control is your attitude towards all those things. What you can't control is how you take it all in. You can control how you think about it and what you think about. And the things you think about are the things that you end up doing, and the things that you end up doing define who you are as a person. So think about what you're thinking about while you're thinking about it before you do it. And that's my message. I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you for joining me. And have a most magnificent and tremendous, awesome freaking day.